Okay.
Okay. So, hello everybody. My name is Andrei. I'm a support escalation engineer for Exchange Online, and we are going to discuss today non-delivery reports, NDRs for short, how to read them, how to interpret them, and how to troubleshoot the different types of NDRs. Wait, I forgot to share my screen actually, I think. Can you all see the screen?
Let me check. Yeah, I can see your screen, Andrei.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right. So, what are NDRs? They are messages received when an email is not delivered to the intended recipient or recipients, be them internal or external. They typically contain fairly technical information regarding the reason for which the email was rejected, along with email headers which provide details for sender, recipients, email routing, and so forth. Historically, these emails were not very readable for non-technical audiences. Exchange Online has taken a step forward in this regard and currently sends out enhanced NDRs, which along with the technical stuff also contain a clear description written in everyday language so that any user can understand what is happening. And I'm going to show you a couple of NDRs. This would be a classic NDR where, as you can see, all the information is quite technical, and for an unexperienced person, it's pretty hard to read and understand. However, if I were to open the enhanced NDR that I was talking about, it has a clear message. Clearly states that the recipient was not found at hotmail.com, and then the sender is presented with a couple of steps, a few steps that they can take in order to fix the issue before contacting the mail admin. Okay, so once we have an NDR, how do we read it? We can, of course, just just open the NDR and scroll up and down and try to make sense of what is happening in here. We also have tools available for us that help us interpret these headers. So if I were to just look at it, it's fairly difficult to keep track of everything that's happened. So we have, in this regard, a website which is called testconnectivity.microsoft.com, where we can paste the headers. Click Analyze Headers, and it's all a bit more tidy and easier to read and follow. We can see the email, the route that the email took, the sender, the recipient, and all other information that's pertinent to this email. Okay. Now we're going to be discussing different types of NDRs and how we can address them and how we can try to fix them. Now we will have most of the times NDRs from single users. That means that I'm going to send an email to a single recipient and the email will be rejected. Most commonly, these NDRs are generated by a typo in the recipient address, and as you can see in the sample attached, the NDR states that the email is not valid, and the steps are provided to me to try and fix this issue myself. Okay. Now we might still get, so not all steps, not all cases are this simple. There might be situations where the recipient accidentally blocked the sender. Usually this will result in the original email being marked as spam or junk and not necessarily rejected, but there may be cases where the email is actually rejected. In such a case, the only option left is for the sender to try and reach out to the recipient using other methods, for instance, maybe a different email address, or trying to just call the recipient and ask that they unblock the email address that is blocked. Okay, and now we're going to get into some more complicated stuff. For instance, we might find that emails sent from a single sender are blocked by an entire domain, while other senders do not have this issue. This is usually the result of the sender being blocked at server level rather than by a single user. This blockage might be done via transport rules, transport agents, or even anti-spam agents. The NDR will usually tell you what the error is. And as you can see in this example, the email was blocked by sender filtering. That basically means that the recipient server will reject any and all emails that I will try to send. In order to try and fix this, the sender would have to contact the admin of the recipient server and ask that they unblock the sender's email address. And what happens when none of my users can send to a specific domain? Usually this happens when a connection cannot be established between the sending server and the receiving server. In my case, as you can see here, the NDR states that the email expired in the queue. So this information is not very useful. It doesn't provide me with any details as to why the email couldn't actually be delivered. So the first thing I would try to do in order to see what's happening is to actually send another email, right? So once you do that, you can you can check the queues either in Exchange on premises or in Exchange Online and see why exactly the connection with the recipient server cannot be established. So assuming that I'm using Exchange on premises, I have already tried resending the email to the recipient, and now I want to see what's happening and what's causing the emails to expire. So we have here a server where we have Exchange installed, and in order to check the queue, you will need to open the Exchange toolbox load soon enough. Okay, and we have here the option to see the queue. Now, in my case, there is no retry, but if I were to have sent an email, there would be here an email trying to be submitted to the recipient server, and in the column named last error, we would get a more specific error rather than just the queue expiration that we get in the NDR. So what happens if you want to check this and you're using Exchange Online? You don't have access, of course, to these tools. So what you need to do is just go to log on to your Office 365 tenant. And check the message trace in there. So I'm going to log on to my tenant. Get the password right. We'll need to browse to the Exchange Admin Center. Select Mail Flow and then Message Trace. Assuming that there are not that many emails trying to be delivered, we can just leave all the options to default and click on Search. And we'll have a list of the most recent emails. Now, if the email is not delivered and it's still waiting to be delivered, the status would be deferred. In my case, I only have delivered or failed emails. And if I wanted to see why the email is deferred, so while it's still waiting in the queue, I'll just have to double click on that specific email, and I would have to select the event that says defer, and the error message, the actual error message that the recipient server is giving is going to be listed here. Okay, so assuming that this doesn't provide much help either, or maybe we just see that for no reason the connection cannot be established, we'll need to try different tools to understand what's happening. So we can continue troubleshooting by trying to open a telnet session on port 25 to the recipient server. In order to do this, we'll need a command prompt, assuming that the telnet client is already installed, and simply issue the command to connect to that server. This is my own server. Currently, it's okay, and I'm going to be able to connect to it, right? And I'm going to present myself as contoso.com, and as you can see, everything is working fine. All the verbs or all the SMTP verbs are present there. So this is an indication that I should be able to send emails. Now, in case a connection to the recipient server cannot be established, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to temporarily disable port 25 so that no connections can be made to my server. This will take a couple of seconds to be processed. And we shouldn't be able to connect. Still working. Let's try one more time. Okay, so now, as you can see, the connection is not established. My telnet client is trying to contact the server on port 25, but it's not able to do so. It will take probably 5 to 10 seconds for the error message to appear. Could not open connection to the host. Okay, and that would be an indication of something blocking the connection on port 25. Most often this will be a misconfigured firewall which is blocking the traffic, and in this case the administrator of the recipient server needs to check the firewall and make sure that the server is reachable on port 25. Okay, so what happens then if we are able to establish the connection on port 25? These are still rejected. Well, in this case, the recipient or the server's admin needs to go into more details, and that should be the configuration of the server. For instance, the send connectors and the receive connectors on the server, which may not be accepting emails from all sources. Just here. So in my case, with Exchange 2016, the customer or the administrator would need to log into the ECP, go to Mailflow, select receive connectors, and go through. Normally, all the emails should coming through the default connectors. But if there are any changes being made, or maybe a new custom connector was created, that one could potentially block emails from reaching the server. Okay. And next on our list is NDRs that an entire domain receives. So if my entire domain is not able to send emails to multiple recipients, that is usually the case when either my server's IP address or my sending domain is blocked or listed on block lists. There are various tools available online to check whether or not an IP or domain is listed. Once we've confirmed that the IP is listed, we need to first check whether or not or why our IP was actually listed. Usually a message trace for the last couple of days should suffice to see whether an abnormal number of emails was sent or the emails were malicious. With Exchange on premises, as with Exchange online, we can make use of the web interface to check the delivery reports and message traces respectively and see the quantity of emails that are being sent. Once we've identified the problem users, we need to make sure that they no longer send unsolicited emails. And to do this, we'll need to, first of all, reset the credentials for their accounts, and then make sure that all the computers that they have access to are scanned for malware. After we've ensured that the cause of the listing is taken care of, we can go ahead and contact the block list providers and ask that they delete our IP or our domain. There are, however, situations or block lists which, so to say, don't play fair. These are lists that usually that are populated over aggressively without following industry standards and best practice. The thing to do is to ask the recipient to either whitelist your IP or just stop using these block lists altogether, because usually listing is not an easy process to do. And there might be a third situation where which refers to backscatterer. Backscatterers are not block lists, but rather, as the name says, backscatterer lists. They are used to protect your server against false NDRs. Many admins use these types of lists as block lists, which is not the correct use for them. They need to be configured in safe mode rather than reject mode. So if you see an email being rejected because the IP is listed on a backscatterer list, the recipient server's admin needs to reconfigure the way that the backscatter list is used. Okay, and there is another scenario which is specific to Office 365, whereby some users' emails might be sent out using the high-risk delivery pool, or the HRDP, which contains IPs that are usually blacklisted. This pool of IPs is specifically created to route all bad mail or all emails that EOP detects as being spammy through it, in order to not risk compromising our clean list of IPs. If a sender or a tenant is sending emails through the HRDP, there is no point in trying to delisting those IPs, because they are specifically created for this reason, and we need to understand why these emails are routed through the HRDP. There are many ways to determine why this is happening, and the first thing that I would do would be to inspect the content of the email, email signatures, email body, and whether or not they contain any links or names of blacklisted domains. If they do, then we'll need to delist, of course, these domains. First, check why they're listed and then delist them. The best way would be to check with our partners if the domain is listed. And there's a TechNet article giving a list of the partners that we use in order to determine whether a domain is blocked or not. And these are the 5 partners that I'm talking about. So once, if we want to see whether or not the domain is blocked, just go to each and every one of these websites and check that domain to see if it's blocked. The procedure is quite simple. Just type in the domain name, and you'll see whether or not it's listed or not. This is of course not listed, and you would get the option here to delist. Okay. Yeah, so this is pretty much all that I've prepared for today. Now I'm pretty sure that some of you might have questions, and I'm pretty sure that I've not covered everything. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Well, thank you, Andrei, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you as well. Thank you all for joining me in this session. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can also find me on LinkedIn and just let me know.
Okay, thank you.